Hello. Good morning. Thanks for joining me. Coming to you from Ohio, where we are experiencing heat and rain. What an awful combination. Let me put it to you this way. If you were to take your face and stick it in a pot of hot pea soup, it still doesn't quite describe what we are experiencing when we step outside of our door. Ada Jet Noise on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Parlor. Thank you for joining me. Please hit me up, comment, thumbs up, thumbs down. Give me your opinion. Bite back, if you will, because I do not have to be right. I just have to start the conversation. Today's conversation, I would like to start it off with a young lady by the name of Kim Goucher. Kim Goucher is a basketball player, Canadian basketball player. Said her goal was to represent her country on the basketball court. Very exciting. Good for you, Kim. Ready to compete in Tokyo's Olympics. Proud basketball player and an even prouder mom. A proud breastfeeding mom. God bless you, Kim. Although Kim will not be, I shouldn't say will not be, but she's forced to choose. Because breastfeeding, we all know, is one of those things that you just don't like. I'm going to stop for a week. It's one of those things. She has a 3-month-old, and she is breastfeeding that child. So she's being forced to pick whether or not she's going to be able to breastfeed her 3-month-old or play in these games in Tokyo. Not because, well, let me put it this way. COVID. Excuse me. Not because they're afraid she'll catch COVID. She's probably, who knows, she's probably vaccinated, I'm sure. Or they're afraid that the baby will catch it. But they will. But what they're saying is the restrictions that Tokyo has. And those restrictions no one is allowed to go to these games except for the athletes. No family members, no friends. The athletes and of course their crew, trainers and what have you. But no extra people, we'll call them extras, not even your 3-month-old that you are breastfeeding and of course living with and are around all the time. So this is where Kim Goucher, this is the conundrum she is in, right? Breastfeeding, continued breastfeeding, like a good mom, or basketball. And I find that a little unfair. And let me explain why. This is Laurel Hubbard. Laurel Hubbard is the New Zealand representative in the weightlifting competition for the women's weightlifter. Laurel is a trans woman, biological man transing to a woman. Laurel is the first trans to represent their country in any competition in the World Olympic Sport Games. Laurel will indeed be there representing the country. Then there's Cece Telfer. Cece Telfer, who will not be representing the United States, despite being the NCAA champion 400-meter hurdles in the 400-meter hurdles. Cece cannot participate in the games because Cece, after testing, was found that here, I'm gonna while I explain that, I'm gonna pull up a little video here so you can see Cece win the NCAA champion. Cece will not be participating in the games because too much testosterone. You can see Cece here. Can you tell which one's Cece? Cece is a biological male, also transing to a woman. I'll play the video again so you can see the difference. Just how good Cece Telfer is. But Kim Goucher is not allowed to go to these games. Now, her situation, of course, has nothing to do with the Laurel Hubbard and Cece Telfer situation. By the way, the reason I brought Cece Telfer up, even though Cece is not going to the games, is because they tested Cece for the games. And that is enough. Because if Cece's testosterone level would have been just a little bit lower, Cece would have been the second transgender athlete to represent their country. Now here's my problem. This is where I think this is a little unfair. One of the things that we've encouraged for a really long time is for women for everyone to be able to look at breastfeeding as normal, right? So there's this big push. I remember my mom would kind of get angry when people would just kind of people would have a problem with breastfeeding, and it was a little uncomfortable for me. I'm a guy, right? So if you see a woman breastfeeding out in public, you're like, and then they immediately throw that, "What are you looking at, pervert?" And it's that's really not the issue. I just thought it was more of a more private moment. I thought it was a more private moment. But as I get older, and you really start to understand more about the natural part of breastfeeding, you start not to be as uncomfortable with it, and that's basically where I'm at. That's basically where I'm at. If I saw someone holding their child at maybe a restaurant or what have you, and they were breastfeeding, as long as they're not being just flat out blatantly a jerk about it, because some people can be jerks about it. It's natural. They immediately get militant, breastfeeding militant. So we went through this whole phase for a long time, trying to just normalize, just get over yourself kind of thing if you see someone breastfeeding. So we went through all that, and we have an understanding the how beneficial breastfeeding can be for a child. This is a 3-month-old child. And once again, we are pulling out the stops with the restrictions on with COVID restrictions. We are laughable right now. Our decisions on how we handle this, and the excuse of not knowing or being uncertain anymore. That's not any good anymore. this is a woman with a 3-month-old child that is doing what she should be doing, is caring for the child in the most natural and most loving way. We are going to restrict this girl from doing the actual natural thing. But we don't seem to have a problem sending biological males to trounce on women. And what I mean by that is, if Laurel Hubbard wasn't there, there would be another woman there, right? Position taken by a man. That is a woman's position taken by a man. CeCe Telfer would have done the same thing. It wasn't enough that CeCe Telfer is still built like a man. Moves like a man. That wasn't enough to stop the Olympic Committee from keeping CeCe Telfer out of the games. What stopped CeCe Telfer from getting out of the games was a little too much testosterone. You're just not quite there. CeCe, go ahead and get those shots. That estrogen thing going on. Are we being fair to women? Are we doing that? The problem I'm having, and we will get to a point where there's going to be a quota of, you're going to need some transgender people in here, or some, because that's basically the direction that we're going in. And when we start taking, my joke has always been that men are going to make better women than women. Right? So if you have to hire a woman, but you can't turn away a trans woman, why not just hire a trans woman? Right? You're a firefighter. Why not just, put on some lipstick and a wig, and people, the first thing anyone's going to do is just knock that back. Well, that's not the way things work out. You just can't do. Well, you kind of can. I mean, CeCe Telfer is proof of that, right? Laurel Hubbard grew long hair, puts on makeup when not in competition, and these people are there. So the unnatural state of the transition of saying, I am now a woman, is far more, it's got far more pull than the actual natural state of having to breastfeed. You can argue whether or not COVID is keeping them out. That's one argument. Is keeping Kim from competing. You can argue about that. But the idea that a woman, an actual woman, has to choose between her career and her children seems a little misogynist to me. So, what do you think? Is COVID enough? Now that COVID's in the rearview mirror. And don't talk to me about the Delta variant. Please do not talk to me about the Delta variant. There's been 58,000 people that have gotten the Delta variant, and it's mostly in Europe, and 44 people have died. That's a 0.08 mortality rate. I'm not afraid. I'm just not afraid. And if you've got your vaccines and you know now that the azithromycins and the hydroxychloroquines, those things are working, what are we hiding for? It's not good. It's just not a good enough excuse to keep these athletes, to tie down these athletes and say you can't have your greatest experience witnessed by the people that love you. It's just not good enough. Hey, to Chat Noise, Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Parler. Please hit subscribe, hit me up, like, what have you. And I hope this topic grows. Doesn't have to grow for me, but I would like to get to the bottom of this. How far are we willing to go in letting men take positions from women just because they say and look like a woman? I don't know. You tell me how you feel, by all means. And I will see you again soon. Thank you for joining me. Until then, big hug. Be good. Be still. Enjoy your life.